Hello and welcome to another episode of the My Greek Island podcast, dedicated to take you, the wanderlust, on a journey through Greece.
There are 227 inhabited Greek islands. Which one will you visit next?
My Greek Island with your hosts George and Maria.
Hello everyone and welcome to another episode of the My Greek Island podcast. I'm George Tsounyas.
And I'm Maria Petrakou.
In today's episode, we will be looking at the first of the Ionian Islands, which is also known as the Gem of the Ionians, and that is Kefalonia. Kalimera Maria.
Kalimera George.
Τι κάνεις?
Καλά, εσύ?
Very good. So for those listeners joining us and who don't know Greek, you might already know Kalimera means good morning because we're usually filming in the morning. Have you got your coffee, by the way?
I do. I have my freddo espresso.
Oh, good. Freddo espresso. And τι κάνεις means how are you? And hopefully as you listen to our podcast, we'll get to give you a kind of full intro conversation that you can have when you visit Greece. So, let's get into today's podcast, Kefalonia. So, Kefalonia, pronounced Kefalonia. The accent is on the final A. It's one of the 7 main Ionian islands, and it's certainly much less touristic, I'd say, than the usual Zante, or as we would call it, Zakynthos, and Corfu, which in Greek is known as Kerkyra.
Exactly.
These islands are referred to as Eptanisa, which in Greek means 7 islands, because there's 7 main islands. So, Maria, give us a brief description of Kefalonia. And as we said, this is referred to as the Gem of the Ionians. So I'm looking forward to hearing all about it.
Great. So I'm going to start and I'm going to put you on the spot. You mentioned Eptanisa, which means the 7 islands. Should we name them? And the reason I'm doing this is because in the past, I was actually sitting with my dad one day having lunch, and he said to me, I can't find the 7th island. And we were actually going through it again and again and again. So if we start from the top, from the northern part going down.
Okay.
Corfu or Kerkyra. Paxi.
Paxi. Then Lefkada.
The 3rd is Lefkada. The 4th.
Kefalonia.
Ithaka. Ithaki.
Ithaka.
Or Ithaka. Then Kefalonia. Then number 6 is Zante or Zakynthos. What's number 7?
Is it well known?
I'm going to blow your mind. It's one of your favorite islands.
Is it Kythira?
It is Kythira.
Really? Kythira? But that's right below the Peloponnese.
Yes, but it's part of the Ionian. And although it's quite further away from the other 6, it is part of the Eptanisa, but it doesn't belong to that side from an administrative perspective, it belongs to Attica, so Athens.
Mind blown.
So that was just a weird fact to start the podcast with. So going back to Kefalonia, which is the gem of the Ionian, and one of the islands which has my favorite beaches in all of Greece. It is the largest of the Ionian islands and the 6th largest island in Greece. So before you ask me, George, yes, it is bigger than Corfu. Although Corfu has twice as many hotels than Kefalonia.
You're not going to test me on the 6 largest islands in Greece, are you?
I'm not.
Okay, good. Okay, continue.
Okay. I'm not. So, having said that it's the biggest, but it has half as many hotels that Corfu does, Kefalonia, in contrast to the other big Greek islands, does not have the strip of big hotels on the beachfronts that we are accustomed to seeing in the big islands. You actually probably won't find many, if any, hotels on the beachfront, and that's because of the morphology of how the island is. It's quite hilly. The majority of the beaches, you have to go down a steep road, so you won't see that concept happening. It's definitely an island with a significant amount of natural beauty and one where you can see nature at its best. So nature lovers, this is definitely an island for you.
And it also has one of the only Greek fir tree forests in Greece or in the world.
Oh, I didn't know that.
So for nature lovers, that's what my research told me. I'd be happy to be proven wrong, but it's one of the only places you can get a Greek fir tree.
Wow.
And there's a forest on the big
on the
mountain
of Myrtos. Yeah. So it combines the most breathtaking turquoise and green waters with the green mountains, and it also has some breathtaking caves. Now, fun fact. It is the island where Captain Corelli's Mandolin was filmed. So yes, Penelope Cruz and Nicolas Cage have been here. Although, no offense to the two very famous actors, I must admit that I did enjoy the book more than the movie. And that's because the book has much more information, not because of anything else. So it's a very great book to read before you head to Kefalonia and learn a bit about the history.
I've never read the book or seen the film. The books that I like about Greece are always Victoria Hislop. So if she ever listens to this and wants to join the podcast, Victoria,
just
you're
saying.
Welcome. Yeah,
Victoria, you're more than welcome to join us.
Her books are epic, and they haven't been made into films.
The island has been filmed into a series, a Greek series.
Yeah.
But no, I don't think any of her other books have been made into films. But I would recommend Captain Corelli's Mandolin. I read it when I was at university, and it's actually one of the best books I've ever read. So I would definitely recommend it.
Nice. I might add it to the long list of books that I have and don't read. Anyway, so I'm assuming Kefalonia is for visiting in the summer.
It's definitely an island that you will enjoy more in the summer, because it does have some of the best beaches Greece has to offer. It does get quite busy though in the summer, so yes, I would definitely recommend it. And in my case, I'm hoping to visit this summer. I don't know if that's going to go ahead, but I'm hoping to visit in late September. And the reason I'm hoping to visit is I'd like to visit someone who I will be mentioning on this podcast, and hopefully we'll be hosting on a future episode. So late September, tourism will have calmed down, and I'm hoping to visit some of my favorite places on the island without the hustle and bustle of the summer tourism.
Lovely. I'm liking that. So it's not like fully peak season. What is the general vibe of the island?
So Kefalonia is quite a peaceful island in general, although the capital of the island, which is called Argostoli, is a bit buzzing, and that's because the majority of the locals do live there. So it can remind you of a small city and not give you that island vibe. Of course, that does not mean that Argostoli does not have its charm. I think my two favorite bits in Argostoli is that there's this huge square, and it's so nice to be there during the summer because in the evening it just fills with people and children playing. So it's it does give you a nice vibe. And there's also a nice beachfront, not beach to be like sunbathing or in the water, but a beachfront to walk. And there's this pier that goes into the water, which is nice. So it does have its charm, and there's a lot of cafes and restaurants in Argostoli. So it does have its charm, but it is much more buzzing. If you want more quiet, you'd probably want to stay out of Argostoli.
Mm-hmm. And also, many of the Greek islands or Greek towns, they have the huge squares, which in Greek is platia, and a lot of people congregate around there, don't they?
Exactly, but this platia is huge. It's not your average Greek platia with like some coffee shops here and there. It's a very big square. Like it's something that will stay in your mind and it's quite impressive as well.
So I'm guessing lots of cafes, restaurants, ice cream places, a bit of everything.
Yeah, around the square and on the side streets, there's a lot going on.
So you're hoping to go this summer, But how can people get to Kefalonia?
I would recommend flying. It has an international airport which is connected to many countries for many months during the year. So the easiest way is to fly there directly and to visit Kefalonia, or maybe even combine it with a neighboring island. So I would recommend going by plane, even if you're stopping in Athens for a few days, because I visited twice and one more time when I was going to an island nearby. The two times I flew with a direct flight from London. The other time I stopped in Athens for a few days and then actually went with an internal flight. And although we did have the option to take a car from Athens, we didn't prefer it because it is a very long drive. I don't recall how long it is, but I think it's about a 5-6 hour drive to get to the port that you'd then need to get on a boat to go. So we actually ended up choosing flying there with an internal flight from Athens and renting a car.
Yeah, and I'm guessing some of our listeners that are more further afield, so let's say in the US or Australia, for example, you're going to have to take a connecting flight at some point.
Exactly. So you're going to have to go most probably you're going to go via Athens, and then from Athens you're going to take a flight. There's loads of flights to Kefalonia, and they're all year round from Athens. So I'm going to note here an interesting but also a sad fact. Kefalonia is one of the few airports in Greece that is named after a woman. It's been named after Anna Polatou, she was born in Kefalonia, a Greek rhythmic gymnast, bronze medal winner in the 2000 Olympics in Sydney. And sadly, she lost her life at the age of 30 in a car crash. But very happy that they named the airport in her honor.
Yeah. So that's it's quite sad, isn't it? And just a note to be really careful when driving in Greece, because they do have kind of windy roads. People do drive fast. So if you are hiring a car, make sure you are careful on those roads. One thing I know that Kefalonia, and I nearly did the mistake myself, is the Ionians more generally are popular for sailing.
Yes, they are.
Have you been sailing in Kefalonia?
I haven't, but it is one of the very popular clusters to go sailing. Usually people will go for about a week and they will do the majority of the Ionian Islands, well, the 6 out of the 7 for sure. I haven't. It's something that I probably will want to do at some point, but usually what I do is I go and I explore. I'd like to explore the island a lot by car and meet the locals, so I haven't been sailing yet, but I do know that many people prefer it, and everyone that goes to the Ionian does have a blast.
That's the thing with sailing. You get to see some epic beaches, but you don't get to explore kind of the inland and some of the towns and the villages and meet with the locals because you're always on the boat. So maybe one day we could do My Greek Island on a boat, which would be pretty epic.
That would be epic, actually, George. Great idea. But
that's quite a good idea. Yeah.
I would do it. I'd like to do it though after I've explored the inland of each of the islands, and then actually just focus on the more secluded beaches that you can only access via boat. So that's definitely a future trip that we need to organise.
So who is Kefalonia for, if you had to say?
The most simple way of putting the answer to this question is anyone who is willing to drive. Because if you're not willing to drive, I would not recommend it. It's an island that requires a lot of driving in order to see and explore it. So if you don't want to do that, it's probably one that you shouldn't be adding to your list. And because of that, I would probably say that it's less appropriate for families with small children as well. So as I said before, since you don't have that beachfront hotel where you're gonna go and you're just gonna chill at the hotel, and it is an island that requires to move around, anyone that's willing to drive is the answer to that question.
Good, nicely put. And where did you stay when you went, and for how long?
Okay, so on the 2 occasions that I did go, I chose Argostoli as my base. And the reason I did that is because it's quite a central spot to get around the island. There's also a lot of cafes and restaurants there. So at nighttime, I would be on foot. So that was one of the great ways to explore the island. And then during the day, take the car, go on an excursion, see something new, but then come back, park the car and be on foot. If I was to go back again, though, I'd probably stay close to Argostoli, but somewhere a bit quieter. And I would probably choose the village of Metaxada, which is about a 12-minute drive from Argostoli. So close enough, but not in the buzz. So you would need to drive and park at night if you wanted to go to a restaurant nearby, but at least you'd be more in tune with nature rather than in the buzz of this small city. How long? Minimum of 5 days. There's so much to see and some of the best beaches, so you're going to want to see them. I think the last time I went, I spent a week in Kefalonia and 3 or 4 days on a neighboring island. But I'd say a minimum of 5 days if you want to see it, because you're going to want to split it out so it's not too tiring because the routes are quite long.
Yeah, and I think, I'm getting the vibe that it's a lot for nature lovers, people that want to see a bit of wild beauty. And generally, the Ionian Islands are much greener than the typical
They are.
and stereotypical islands you see, like Mykonos, Santorini, Paros, Naxos, those sort of islands. There's so much more greenery, which I've been to another Ionian island and I really did like that. And it's a big contrast. You mentioned neighbouring islands that you could combine it with. Which neighbouring island would you recommend combining it with?
The easiest, and to me, the perfect combination is Kefalonia, Ithaki. And the reason is there's 2 routes per day going and 2 routes per day coming back. I think it's a total of 4, or like 2 going and 2 coming. There might be slightly more in the summer, but there's definitely a boat early in the morning leaving, and there's definitely a boat leaving Ithaki late in the afternoon. So you can even do a day trip if you wanted to. And for me, the perfect combo is, as I said, 6 to 7 days in Kefalonia and 3 to 4 days in Ithaki, also referred to as Ithaca, but in Greek it's Ithaki, and it's the island that you will read about in Homer's Odyssey. Now, to get to Ithaca, the boat trip that I said is from the port of Sami. So something to bear in mind that if you are staying in Argostoli, it's about a 40 to 45-minute drive from Argostoli to Sami. And if you're going to take the 8 a.m. boat, you need to wake up super early to do that. The trip's 30 minutes and it will cost you approximately €4 per person to get on that boat and 17 for the car, because you can take the car with you. One thing that I would definitely recommend, though, if you're hiring, since you're going to be hiring a car, if you choose to go to Kefalonia, make sure that you ask the rental company that they're okay for you to take the car with you to Ithaki, just in case there's any issues with the insurance that you have. Although I don't think there is a problem, just ask just to be on the safe side.
Sounds very interesting and a nice sort of combination to do with that island. In my research, because I'm trying to get in the spirit of researching and making sure I have good questions to ask, I did read somewhere, or actually I saw on Instagram, that they have caves in Kefalonia and you can go on boat trips. Is that true? And if so, did you go on it and how were they?
Okay. Yes, it's true. There's 2 caves, Melissani and Drogarati caves. I've only been to the first, Melissani, and I've been twice. And I would go again. So I think that shows you that it's definitely worth it. I consider it one of the highlights of the island and definitely something you should not miss. To get to the Melissani cave, it's situated between Sami, which is the village we mentioned before that you get the boat to go to Ithaca, and another village called Agia Efimia, which a few years ago, unfortunately, was hit by an awful fire. And I think hopefully it's recovered now because, again, full of green, a beautiful little village on the beachfront. So, again, approximately 40-minute drive from Argostoli, if that's what you're saying. So you're looking at about an hour each way every single day. So it's an island you're going to be driving. I would definitely recommend someone looking at a picture of Melissani Cave it will convince you to want to go. It's actually a lake and there's a cave on top, and the cave has opened up over the years so you can see through the cave. When you get there, you will queue, you will go in, and you will get on a boat with approximately another 10, I think there's a total of 10 people that get on the boat, maximum 10 people, it might be slightly less, and they will take you around the cave and the lake. Beautiful lighting, perfect for pictures. Of course, you can't overdo it with the pictures because you're only in there for a limited amount of time. It costs about approximately 8 to 10 euros, I think, for adults, and about half of that for children. You cannot swim in the lake, it's not permitted. But even if it was, I'm not sure you'd want to because the water is absolutely freezing. Tips, you know that I like to share tips and tricks. I would say try and go as early as possible, especially during peak months, for two reasons. The first reason, it's a very popular tourist attraction, so there will be queues. But the second reason is until you get to the entrance where there's a long covered space for people to stand, any space out of that is uncovered. You're in the sun, so it can get extremely hot, and make sure you have a hat with you. So the earlier you go, you will be avoiding these two, the big crowds plus standing in the sun.
Yep, and make sure you stay hydrated.
Absolutely.
Do we know why you can't swim? Is it for sustainability reasons?
I think it's for sustainability reasons,
good.
and because it's a natural gem. I was reading somewhere that a few years ago, there's a spot on the island where water sort of disappears, and they had no idea where it was going. So it seems to be going somewhere. And I think they put like some color to trace where the water goes. And it actually ends up in the cave of Melissani.
Wow.
So that's a super interesting fact. And in general, the island does have like cold currents of water at various beaches, which is one of my favorite things.
And that's refreshing in the summer.
Yeah, exactly. So in the summer, you can go in and you can feel these cool currents keeping you cool constantly. But yeah, no, you can't swim.
So, what were your Kefalonia highlights? Let's have 5 highlights from you. So, people going. We know the Melissani cave
It's
is a must.
definitely one.
Like you have to, if you're going to Kefalonia, you have to do it. No questions.
Yeah. So number 1 is Melissani cave. Number 2, I'm going to say Myrtos beach. It's the most famous beach of the island. And I'm going to mention it, even if you don't go down, just go to the viewpoint. The view is absolutely breathtaking, even if you just go for a picture, because there are other beaches close by that you can go to, which are very similar once you get down to the beaches, but have less people. So definitely do the viewpoint of Myrtos. It's beautiful. It's a gorgeous picture. And it's just a stunning view to see. The third, I'm going to mention the village of Assos. It's beautiful. And I will mention it. I'm going to re-mention it further down because I also consider it an off the beaten track. So once I'm suspecting you're going to ask me about off the beaten track, George. I'm going to re-mention it then. The fourth one is the fact that they have their own wine production. It's called Robola. And number 5, I know that many people will talk about Fiscardo because it's a very, very popular village and very picturesque. But for me, one of the highlights of Kefalonia is the beach of Petani. I love that beach. It's a very popular beach. It's very, very touristic. So go early. I love that beach. I don't know why I even follow the hashtag on Instagram because I love that beach. I think it's for me, it's my favorite beach in Kefalonia.
Never heard of it, so I'm going to look that up after this. And a really well-placed question. I am going to ask you about off the beaten track. Anyone would think we've started to prepare these podcasts. What things did you see or do that you would class as off the beaten track? Okay,
of course, the first one that I said is Assos, the town of Assos. It's very picturesque and has some great traditional restaurants And also there's a Venetian castle. So you can walk around, you can spend quite a lot of time in the village of Assos, and I consider it a bit off the beaten track. The pictures you can take in front of some of the houses are absolutely beautiful. So definitely that's one of them. Number 2, I'm going to mention a small independent family-owned business. It's a glamping site owned by one of the kindest human beings I've ever met in my life. Her name is Christina. It's called Orfia Retreats and Glamping. I hope I'm pronouncing that correctly. At some point I hope that she will be on this podcast to tell us all about it, and how she turned this passion into what we see today. A paradise for anyone that wants to indulge in nature, who is into well-being, someone who likes plant-based food, a nature lover, someone who just needs a break, someone who wants to get away from stress, needs to retreat. It's an absolutely amazing project that she's brought to life. The next one I'm going to say, and this is, the glamping site is in the village of Metaxada, which I mentioned before is probably where I would stay if I was to go again. In the same village, another off the beaten track is an organic farm called Kefalonia. And it's open every day, I think, except Mondays from 7 in the morning until 4 in the afternoon, where you can go for breakfast, brunch, or lunch. And then the next, I'm going to say a little restaurant, a beachfront restaurant called the Fisherman's Hut, which only serves catch of the day, Greek salad, and French fries. That's literally all this guy serves.
That means it's a good place.
It's very authentic. Recommended to me by the locals, and I've had one of the best meals. I usually go for he will have big fish as well, but I usually go for the small fried fish, the Greek salad, and some French fries and a nice cold beer. That's what I would usually go for in the summer. It's great to be combined with a beach called Agia Kyriaki, which is exactly the same setting as Myrtos beach, less crowded, but you don't get that viewpoint that you will get from Myrtos. So it's definitely a way to combine it with the Fisherman Hut. And then the last one, I'm going to mention a winery called Fivos Winery. As I mentioned before, they produce a wine called Robola. So you can visit a winery and do some wine tasting as well. And this is actually a beautiful winery owned by an elderly couple. Some of the wines they produce, if I recall correctly, they do it in a very old-fashioned way in clay pots. And I think they used to do that in Cyprus as well. So it's a great experience to meet some local people and see some of the local production.
Amazing. I think out of all of those, I'm living for the glamping experience. I think that would be amazing, sort of, to just switch off from life and chill. On this podcast, and knowing you, we all now know, especially if you're following at the My Greek Island Instagram page, you love your tips and tricks and hacks. And you have already mentioned quite a few. You've been giving them, been doing well, giving them out today. But are there any more you would like to add?
Yes. The most important tip is that, so if you were to look at the island on a map, there's a bit, so from Argostoli to Lixouri, which are two spots on the island, you can see that the one is opposite the other, but there's water between them. And if you were to follow the road, you have to go all the way around the island. So the biggest tip is the two are connected with a ferry boat, which is very frequent. It lasts a maximum of 20 minutes and can save you a lot of driving time. And I would use it constantly because on the side where Lixouri is, there's a lot of beaches that you're going to want to visit. So using that ferry, if you're using Argostoli or somewhere close to Argostoli where you're going to be staying, then it's a definite great hack to save a lot of time when you're driving. That's the first one. The second tip and trick I'm going to say, talk to the locals. They are so hospitable. And it's really funny that there's a reputation in Greece with the Greeks that the people from Kefalonia are not hospitable. And I have met some of the most amazing people there, in addition to seeing some of the most amazing beaches. So talk to the locals. They are so friendly. They're so helpful. They will more than happily share where they will go for lunch or dinner so that you can have an amazing experience, and they will help you so much. They're so helpful. And in my case, I remember once I went to buy a necklace, and she said the woman that owned the souvenir shop said to me, definitely go to the fisherman's hut. And when I went to the fisherman's hut, she was there with her husband. And of course, the Greeks being Greeks, we sort of ended up at kind of the same table. They were buying us beer. It was a nice experience. So the locals are very friendly, despite this weird reputation that they have for not being friendly. Then the last tip, of course, if you're visiting during peak, try and get an early start. You've got long drives. There will be lots of people. So the earlier you get a start, the more easy your day will be.
Interesting. And on that note, around parking and the long drives, what are the roads like? And also some of these beaches, the roads going down to the beach, or are they, should people be cautious, or are they dirt roads, or what are we saying?
I think the majority of the roads are not dirt roads. There are some new roads which make things even easier. Some of the roads at points are windy. I remember there's a spot where it turns really abruptly that it's something to bear in mind. There are some parts of the island which are windy. I think you just need to be careful because at some parts they can be windy, but I think they're perfectly fine. On the way to the beaches, the roads again are perfectly fine. It's just because of the excess of people that will want to go to the beaches, sometimes you have to park quite far up and it will be a bit of a walk. So if you see cars parked, you're probably better off parking than risking it going down looking for parking and then having to turn and come all the way back up. But otherwise, no, I think the roads are perfectly fine in Kefalonia.
Perfect. Okay, so we've reached the point for some quick fire questions. So they're going to be quick questions, quick answers. Question one, what was your favorite meal, if you can remember, and where was it?
Of course, Gaza Grek. Gaza Grek in Argostoli, 100% for sure. Sit in the garden, reservation for sure. Very, very, very popular with the locals, with the tourists, with everyone. Great food, gourmet Greek food. I think it's a Greek-American couple that owns the restaurant. It's amazing. You will get great prices, great food, and also great drinks. They have a lovely selection of drinks as well, and some very unique drinks. And a nice wine list. So definitely Gaza Grek.
Okay. Favorite beach?
Petani.
Okay. We're going to feature that in the highlights in the Instagram post for sure. What was your favorite town or village?
The village of Assos, which I said before, also the traditional restaurants, the Venetian castle, Assos, 100%. Did
you see any turtles? Because Kefalonia is also famous for turtles.
I didn't.
Oh.
I'm going to look out for them next time, though.
Okay. Something on the bucket list.
Yes, for sure.
Yeah, maybe there's a specific time of year we would need to research. Another one is, did you do any trekking or go to see the fir forest of Mount Enos?
I didn't, unfortunately. But now that you've put it in my head, I'm going to take you with me so we can do it together.
Yeah, I feel like you could have some nice trekking in those in the mountain.
I've read that if you go to Kefalonia in October, where it's cooler, trekking is very, very popular during those months.
Okay, I do like a bit of trekking, and apparently you can see some semi-wild horses in the mountains. That would be quite cool to see.
Yeah, it would.
And final question, we might already know the answer to this, but just to reaffirm, what would you say is not worth the effort? You touched upon it very briefly.
Okay, I'm not going to say it's not worth the effort, but I did find it slightly overrated, is the village of Fiscardo. Now, don't get me wrong, It's absolutely beautiful and definitely something I would recommend seeing. I would recommend visiting, but maybe eat at Astros instead. Not that you won't have a nice meal in Fiscardo, you will, but it will be a bit more pretentious and it will probably be the most expensive meal you will have on the island.
Yeah, that sounds like another sort of My Greek Island tip and trick. Before we close the episode, we know that Kefalonia is approved as a My Greek Island approval. And yes, we
Destination.
did. Yeah, destination, exactly. And we did approve Chania, but actually most of the islands we're going to talk about are approved. But why should people visit Kefalonia? Give us three reasons why people should visit.
The beaches, the natural beauty, in addition to the beaches, I guess, and the people.
Great. So that's it for another episode. Now, we did mention that Kefalonia could be combined with Ithaka or Ithaki, so do stay tuned for that one coming. And as always, we haven't forgotten. Before we leave, we are going to leave you with our Greek phrase of the episode.
Okay, so we didn't mention this during the podcast, and we probably should have. Kefalonia, apart from the beaches, nature, etc., is very known for its meat pie. So for those meat lovers out there, go to any of the local bakeries, you can get the traditional meat pie of Kefalonia. So why don't we say that word?
Yeah.
Kreatopita.
Kreatopita, which is meat pie. And for vegetarians?
So there's a cheese pie, so that would be tiropita.
Tiropita, which is very well known.
Yeah.
Tiropita.
The tiropita is usually with feta cheese. It's not with any other cheese. And then the last one, let's put something for our vegan. Yep, for our vegan friends. Usually the spanakopita, which is a spinach pie, is usually made without cheese and is vegan. Or you can find a mushroom pie, which is manitaropita. So you can see there's a common theme, pie, pita, and you're just changing the beginning of the word.
Amazing. So we have kreatopita, meat pie, tiropita, cheese pie, spanakopita, spinach pie, and manitaropita, that is a mouthful even for me, is a mushroom pie. So there's 4 things you could go and order in a bakery tomorrow or off the back of this podcast and be understood and get what you want.
Exactly.
Covering all the tastes because we're an inclusive podcast.
Exactly.
Right, my Greek Islanders, this comes to the end of another episode of this podcast.
Now you know the drill. If you like this episode, share it to share the love with the My Greek Island community, where everyone is welcome. And
don't forget to follow, like, subscribe, and all that jazz. And maybe give us a little rating from wherever you're listening to us from, so you are notified every time a new episode drops. And if you have any suggestions or requests, get in touch.
And for those of you visiting Greece, don't forget to tag @MyGreekIsland on Instagram for a future feature. Until then, see you later, or as they say in Greek,
Ta leme.